Oh, I got it straight away. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out and spending your Friday nights with Dave and myself and the Labour Party in some very, very important elections that we have in the course of the next couple of months. Firstly, to get Dave elected here as our PCC, and second, yeah, go on, give a round of applause. And secondly, to win for our country, which is what keeping Britain in the European Union is all about. And my glamorous assistant has walked in just at the right moment. So, show us the placards, Jason. Labour in for Britain, that's us. Round of applause. So I'll say a few words, but then the aim of tonight is to have some questions and to hear from you. Number one, feel good about being Labour tonight, okay? Right, we've had a very strange year in politics. It started obviously with the general election defeat, and we all sad about that, we all confronting that. We've then had this complete regeneration of the Labour Party, Jeremy winning the leadership, the party membership tripling. Put your hand up now if you've joined the Labour Party in the last year. Round of applause. It's about a quarter or the third of the people in the audience. Now I've got this to say to you. You are very, very welcome in the Labour Party, and you haven't just joined, you've turned up at meetings like this. I hope you're going to engage at every level of the party, help us with campaigning, take part in the policy making, help with in the constituencies, and I hope in the future perhaps to stand to be a councillor. You know, please, please, please be involved at every level of our party. There are many things to do, not everyone has to do everything. Don't be embarrassed when you can't do things, but please do take part, and it's really fantastic to see you all here tonight. And it's given the Labour Party a spring in its step, and I'll tell you, we've got another spring in its step, which is the Tory Party have had the worst 2 weeks they've had in a very, very long time. You know, who could have said on it? I probably could actually, because I'm a very sad man. But who could have said where Panama was on a map before 2 weeks ago? Yeah, probably a few of us, because you can just see when we have a quiz night, I want to be on your team, right? But you know, it is absolutely incredible that David Cameron tried to cover up that he had shares in an offshore trust. It's absolutely incredible. And it is completely not an excuse that he sold them quickly before becoming Prime Minister, because he had them when he was a Member of Parliament and should have put everything on the register of interests. And I think there is more to come out about all of that, I really have to say. But the big truth about all of that is not that David Cameron's a bad man, because we know that David Cameron's a bad man, don't we, right? The big truth about that is it is uncovered, as far as the British electorate is concerned, that when we're all suffering from cuts, when disabled people are having their benefits taken away from them, when local government, before local government elections in many of our areas, are suffering worse cuts from central government, when they won't bail out the steel industry and all the rest of it, that they and their like are making an absolute mint by keeping their money out of our country. And that will have a big political impact on our election. I think it's going to help Dave, and it's going to help our Labour candidates in these elections, because the British public will not like that. Everyone else has to play by the rules and pay the taxes, and why shouldn't the Tory Party and their friends do exactly the same? And then this week we've seen this whole furor about forced academisation from the Tories. And you know, when it was Labour that brought in academies, I don't hide that. But what was it about? It was about saying that schools that were really struggling in some of the most socially deprived areas would get special arrangements to get extra resources to help them succeed and to help most of all the kids in them to succeed. And people like or don't like the Academies programme, I understand that. But the idea that you target extra resources and help on schools to help children who are deprived and really struggling is one thing. And what the Tories did when they brought in this policy in the budget to force every school to academise was not about helping children. It was about excluding me and you and other parents from the school governing bodies of our own children, and I have school-aged children. It's an ideological thing to cut the powers of local government and to stop local democracy having an effect over our schools. And as someone who, before I was an MEP, was working for a disability charity, and I've seen the effect on disabled children and special needs children of the gradually moving the powers away from local educational authorities, democratically elected authorities, to schools, and making schools operate as businesses. Oh, excuse me, I need to have some water. I think it's an absolute disgrace, And the only thing is, with this very small majority that the Tories have in Westminster, it looks like they might be forced to U-turn about that, just like George Osborne was forced to U-turn on the budget. And I hope, by the way, just like we will be able to force through new measures that really crack down on tax dodging and tax havens and tax evasion, including measures that I sat in the European Parliament on your behalf this week and listened to, that multinational companies will have to publish the tax they pay country by country and their turnover, so we can see where they're active, but then shifting the profits elsewhere to try and evade taxes. And that's something that I'm going to, and my MEP colleagues are trying to drive through as in the European Parliament we heard about this week. So have a spring in your step as Labour tonight. Next, you're going to be here later from Dave and discussing all the issues about the PCC elections. But I'm not going to be here and be on a panel without him without saying we've got a bloody good candidate to be our Police and Crime Commissioner candidate. Just say this, I'm not going to say too much about it, but I first saw him when he was giving the most moving tribute at a passing of a good comrade, and I didn't know him at the time, and his tribute was so sincere, moved me to tears. It was about someone that we both knew and really loved and missed, but he actually was able to sum up in words feelings that I had for myself and many other people in the Labour Party where we were. And he also, the person who passed was a trade unionist, and Dave was a trade unionist by background, and you could just tell listening to him that this was someone with a really authentic, sincere background who really believed in what he said and was totally honest. And that is what people want in politics at the moment. Right? They're worried about politicians being all the same, they're worried about MPs fiddling their expenses and all that stuff, and people become very, very cynical about politics. It's one of the reasons that Jeremy won the Labour Party leadership, because he's another really authentic Labour Party person. I tell you, we're lucky in Cambridgeshire, we've got someone like that here, and that's one of the reasons that I really want Dave to succeed. And he came and talked to me early on about standing, and we were chatting about it. He said to me, you know, I'm going to win. That's what he said, I'm going to win. And it's a funny election, the Police and Crime Commissioner elections, because, you know, we know that people don't just vote on party lines, they do vote more for individuals, and we know that independents have got allowed to do all sorts of things. So there is a sort of uncertainty and unexpectedness about the PCC elections, and it does mean that it's really interesting. And so I look forward to the second half of the evening when you're talking about Dave. But I'd just like to say he's a good comrade, and I'm proud to be standing with him. And now a word about Europe and the European referendum. I've come to some of the constituencies. I know other ones of your constituencies have had special meetings, and thank you to all three constituencies who are here tonight for having those meetings and for the support you're giving for the Labour In For Britain campaign. As I've said to you, and I think everyone in this room knows, it is the most, and Alan Johnson says this, the chair of the Labour In For Britain campaign, it is the most important political decision of his political lifetime. It's about the future of our country. It's not just about Europe, it's about Britain. Gordon Brown said this, and it's about what sort of Britain do we want to be. Do we want to be a country that just builds higher and higher walls, turns away from people in the rest of the world, says we want everyone in Britain to be the same, and doesn't care about anybody from abroad. Anyone from abroad you know, we know these UKIP people and these Tory Eurosceptics. You know, they deliberately try to make people afraid and fearful of foreigners, aren't they? That's really what this is all about. And so we've got a battle on June the 23rd, not just to keep Britain in the European Union, but to keep outward-looking, tolerant, open, diverse style of politics for our country against people who are the worst, most xenophobic, I have to say in my view, racist people. That is the real battle that we've got on June the 23rd. And in the meetings that we've had, and you know, we know that jobs are at stake, employment rights are at stake, including for women, all of the major gains of equal pay for women, employment protection for part-time workers, all at stake, consumer rights, environmental protection, all of the big gains we've got on clean air, clean water, all at stake. Security for us. What are the threats to us in the world? Of course organised crime, of course terrorism. These people organise across international boundaries. It's blindingly obvious that we have to organise across international boundaries in order to confront those threats to us. But the threats aren't just people, it is climate change. And there's nothing more nonsensical and absurd than thinking that we can deal with carbon emissions behind the British border, but that we can stop climate change by not engaging in the rest of Europe or the rest of the world. And Europe has been the leader in dealing with climate change. I went to Paris as an MEP, and I was one of the MEPs observing the Paris climate change talks. And it was Europe that delivered that agreement, and without Europe we wouldn't have got it, and Britain, to cut ourselves off from it, would be absolutely an obscenity. But it isn't surprising that Eurosceptics want it, because they're the same people that deny climate change as well. They just want to turn the clock back to how Britain was 50 years ago. You can understand that. People have a nostalgia. We all have a nostalgia about our youth in the past. That's fine. But we understand we live in the world of today, and we're preparing for the world of tomorrow, and that's what this referendum is about. And Jeremy Corbyn yesterday did his biggest speech yet on the Labour In for Britain campaign. I hope some of you saw it on the news. And he made the case, Labour's internationalist case, that we engage with the rest of the world. We don't defend Europe just as it is today, but you don't change something by leaving it, you change from within. And he made that very strong case that says to every Labour Party member and every Labour Party supporter and voter that we want to campaign for Britain to remain in the European Union. And that's our task. That's the task why we're here tonight, partly to reflect, to gird ourselves up and to ask questions and to get all the arguments clear. But then on the doorstep, on the telephones, delivering leaflets, in your workplaces, in your neighbourhoods, in the sports and social clubs, let's deliver that message. Let's deliver that message. And I believe it is one that we can win. I think when we win it, not only is it right for the politics of our country, but it's going to be good for the Labour Party, because it will get us back on the winning side, and it will stop Boris Johnson and Michael Gove and Ian Duncan Smith and Nigel Farage having smiles on their faces. And there's nothing worse than Nigel Farage with that big smile on his face, and on June the 23rd we're going to wipe that smile off his face. Thank you very much.